The mother's revenge signed the house over to me, or I'm putting you in a home today. My son Marcus stood in my kitchen, his wife Jessica smirking behind him, holding a folder of nursing home brochures. I was 62 years old, and my own child was trying to steal everything I had. I looked at my son, the boy I'd raised alone after his father died, the child I'd worked 3 jobs to put through college, and I barely recognized him anymore. Jessica had her manicured hand on his shoulder, whispering something that made him straighten his spine like she was pulling strings attached to his bones. Marcus, honey, can we talk about this? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Weaker. There's nothing to talk about, Mom. He wouldn't even look at me. You're getting older. You can't manage this big house anymore. Jessica and I need space for the kids, and this neighborhood has the best schools. I raised you in this house, I said quietly. Your father built that deck with his own hands the summer before he died. Jessica stepped forward, her perfume choking the air between us. That's very sentimental, Eleanor. But sentiment doesn't pay property taxes in a neighborhood like this. You're living on Social Security. We both know you can't afford to keep this place much longer anyway. The cruelty in her smile made something inside me go cold and still. The nursing home isn't even that bad, Marcus added, finally meeting my eyes. They have activities. Other people your age. You'll make friends. I have friends, I said. I have a life. I have this house. Had. Jessica corrected. Past tense. Signed the papers. Eleanor, or we do this the hard way. What's the hard way? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Jessica answered for him. We prove you're no longer competent to manage your own affairs. Marcus is your only child, your next of kin. With the right doctors saying the right things, a judge will grant him power of attorney. Then we take the house anyway, and you won't even get to choose which facility you end up in. My hands started shaking, not from fear, from rage so pure it felt like lightning in my veins. Get out of my house, I whispered. Not until you signed. Jessica dropped the folder on my kitchen table. We'll give you until tomorrow morning to think about it. But understand, Eleanor, this house is already ours. You're just delaying the inevitable. They left. I stood in my kitchen for 20 minutes, unable to move, staring at that folder like it was a snake coiled on my table. Then I picked up my phone and called the one person I'd sworn never to speak to again. Hello. The voice was older now, rougher, but I'd know it anywhere. Vincent, I said. It's Eleanor. I need your help. There was a long pause. Ellie, Jesus. It's been what, 30 years? 32. I didn't think I'd ever hear from you again after you went to prison for fraud. After you tried to drag my husband into your schemes. My voice was steady now, cold and clear. I wouldn't be calling if I wasn't desperate. What do you need? I told him everything. About Marcus, about Jessica, about the threats and the nursing home brochures, and the way my own son looked at me like I was already dead when I finished. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed, a dark, knowing sound. So the golden boy turned out to be a vulture after all. You must be devastated. I'm past devastated, I said. I want revenge. Now that, Vincent said, is something I can help with. Vincent arrived at my house that night, driving a Mercedes that probably cost more than my annual income. He'd aged well, silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of confidence that comes from getting away with things. He hugged me at the door like no time had passed, like he hadn't betrayed my late husband's trust and nearly destroyed our family. But my husband was dead, and right now, Vincent was the only person I could trust. Let me see the papers, he said, settling onto my couch. I handed him the folder. He flipped through it, his expression darkening. They're not messing around. This nursing home is Medicaid facility, multiple violations, understaffed. He looked up at me. If they put you there, Ellie, you wouldn't last 2 years. My stomach turned. Can they really do it? Take everything. If they get a doctor to say you're incompetent, yeah, probably. The system's designed to protect vulnerable elderly people, but it gets abused constantly. Adult children forcing their parents to sign over assets, draining bank accounts, isolating them from anyone who might intervene. He closed the folder. Happens every day. So I have no options. Vincent smiled. I didn't say that. How much do you trust me? Not at all. Good, smart woman. He leaned back. Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, you're going to sign over the house to Marcus. What? No, listen to me. His voice was sharp. You sign it over. But not to him. To a shell company I'm going to set up tonight. On paper, it'll look like the house is his, but legally, you'll still control everything through the company. We'll make it look like you broke down, gave in to their demands. They'll think they won, and then we destroy them. Vincent's eyes glittered. But I need to know something first. How far are you willing to go? I thought about Marcus's face, the way he wouldn't look at me, the contempt in Jessica's smile, the folder of nursing homes where they planned to abandon me. As far as it takes, I said. The next morning, Marcus and Jessica arrived at 9 o'clock sharp. Jessica was already redecorating the house. In her mind, I could see it in the way she studied the crown molding, measured the windows with her eyes. I'll sign, I told them. My voice was hollow, defeated. Perfect. Marcus actually looked relieved, maybe even a little guilty. Mom, this is for the best. You'll see. Let's just get it over with. Vincent had prepared everything. The shell company was called Riverside Holdings LLC. To Marcus and Jessica, it would look like a simple transfer of property. They'd have no idea that I still controlled everything, that the signature was just theater. I signed my name, and it felt like signing my own death warrant. Jessica snatched the papers immediately, like I might change my mind. Smart choice, Eleanor. We'll have movers here next week to start clearing out your things. The nursing home has a bed available on the 15th. Next week. I let my voice crack. That's only 6 days. No point dragging it out, Marcus said. He wouldn't meet my eyes. We'll pack up Dad's things, and you can keep whatever fits in your room at the facility. They allow 1 suitcase and some photos. 1 suitcase, 40 years of life, reduced to 1 suitcase. Marcus, please, I whispered. This is too fast. I need more time. Jessica put her arm around my son and then pulled him toward the door. The papers are signed. Eleanor, it's done. Start packing. They left. I stood in my living room, and for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to hate your own child. Vincent emerged from where he'd been listening in the hallway. You did great. They bought it completely. Now what? Now, he said, we make them regret ever crossing you. The first phase of Vincent's plan was simple. Make Marcus and Jessica believe they'd won while gathering evidence of their real intentions. Vincent hired a private investigator who specialized in elder abuse cases. Within 3 days, we had recordings of Jessica bragging to her friends about finally getting the old bat out of that house, and text messages between Marcus and Jessica discussing how to minimize what they'd have to spend on my care. But Vincent wanted more than just evidence. He wanted to hurt them. Your daughter-in-law has secrets, Vincent told me on the 4th day. The investigator found some interesting patterns in her spending. Large cash withdrawals, meetings with someone named Craig at expensive hotels, an affair. Looks like it. But here's where it gets interesting. Craig works at Marcus's firm. He's his boss. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me wanted to warn Marcus, to protect him, but that part was getting smaller every day. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm thinking Marcus needs to know what kind of woman he married, but not yet. First, we need to make sure you're protected. On the 5th day, Vincent sent Marcus a formal letter from a lawyer, a real lawyer, one who specialized in elder abuse. The letter stated that the transfer of property was being investigated, that there were concerns about coercion and undue influence, and that Eleanor Ward had retained legal counsel. Marcus called me immediately, panicked. Mom, what the hell is this? I don't know what you're talking about, I said quietly. You hired a lawyer. Are you trying to back out of the agreement? Agreement, Marcus. You threatened to have me declared incompetent. You were going to put me in a facility I never chose. That's not an agreement. That's extortion, Mom Jesus. We were trying to help you help me, or help yourselves to my house. There was a long silence. Then Jessica's voice in the background. Hang up. Don't say anything else. This could be recorded. The line went dead. Vincent smiled when I told him, perfect. Now they're scared. Scared people make mistakes. On the 6th day, the day I was supposed to move into the nursing home, I didn't go. Instead, I stayed in my house, the house that legally still belonged to me, through Riverside Holdings. Marcus and Jessica showed up with a moving truck and 3 workers, only to find me sitting on my porch with Vincent and the lawyer. What is this? Jessica demanded. Eleanor, get your things. We have a schedule. The lawyer stepped forward. Mrs. Ward will not be going anywhere. The transfer of property executed 5 days ago is void due to coercion and undue influence. Additionally, we're filing a restraining order against both of you for elder abuse and financial exploitation. Marcus went pale. Elder abuse. Mom, what are you doing? What I should have done the moment you walked into my house with those brochures, I said, protecting myself from you. Jessica's face twisted into something ugly. You crazy old bitch. We'll fight this. You can't prove anything. Actually, Vincent said pleasantly. We can prove quite a lot, including the texts where you discussed minimizing Eleanor's care expenses to maximize what you'd save for yourselves, and the recordings where you bragged about manipulating a senile old woman. Your words, not hours into signing over her assets. Those are illegal recordings, Jessica spat. They won't hold up in court. Maybe not, Vincent agreed, but they'll hold up just fine in the court of public opinion. I wonder what your friends at the country club will think. Or Marcus's firm. Marcus looked like he might be sick. Mom, please, can we talk about this privately? No, I said. You lost the right to private conversations when you tried to steal my home. Now get off my property, both of you. The restraining order goes into effect in 1 hour. If you're still here, you'll be arrested. They left. Jessica was screaming at Marcus, blaming him, saying this was all his fault for not handling me better. I watched them drive away and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. That's phase 1 complete, Vincent said. They're disoriented, panicked. Now we move to phase 2, which is, we destroy their marriage, and then we destroy their finances. I should have stopped him then, should have said that revenge had gone far enough, that I'd protected myself, and that was enough, but I didn't. Because part of me, the part that had been humiliated and threatened and dismissed, wanted to watch them burn. Vincent's investigator had compiled a detailed dossier on Jessica's affair with Craig, hotel receipts, text messages, even photos of them together at a wine bar across town. Vincent arranged for Marcus to receive this information in the most devastating way possible, anonymously, at his office, during a team meeting. I wasn't there. But Vincent's investigator was. He described how Marcus opened the envelope, how his face changed as he flipped through the photos, how he stood up in the middle of the meeting and walked out without a word. Marcus didn't call me. He didn't call anyone for 3 days. When he finally surfaced, it was because Jessica had filed for divorce and was demanding half of everything, including the house she thought they owned. Except, they didn't own it. I did, through Riverside Holdings. Marcus's lawyer called Vincent's lawyer. There were negotiations, threats, counter-threats. Marcus wanted to know how the property transfer had been voided. His lawyer argued that the papers were signed, that the transaction was legitimate. Let them argue, Vincent said. While they're fighting over a house they don't own, we'll be emptying their real assets. What do you mean? Vincent showed me documents I didn't understand at first. Corporation filings, business licenses, financial statements. Marcus's consulting firm. He's the primary owner, 60% stake. Jessica has 20%. The rest is divided among partners. I don't see how Marcus built that company using a loan from a bank where I have connections, a loan that's about to be called in. Unless he can pay it back in 30 days, the bank will seize his assets as collateral, including his stake in the company. I stared at Vincent. You're going to take his business. I'm going to give you the option to take his business. If you want it. Why would I want his business? Leverage. Ellie, he took your home. You take his company. Then you offer him a deal, back off permanently, leave you alone, and you'll sell him back his company for $1. Try to come after you again, and you liquidate everything, leaving him with nothing. It was ruthless. It was cruel. It was exactly what Marcus and Jessica had tried to do to me. Do it, I said. Bafta showed up at my door 3 weeks later. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. His eyes were hollow, his suit rumpled. He didn't have Jessica with him. He didn't have anyone. Mom, he said quietly. Can I come in? I almost said no, almost slammed the door in his face the way he'd slammed the door on my dignity, my life, my future. But he was still my son. I let him in. We sat in the living room where he'd grown up, where I'd read him bedtime stories and helped him with homework and celebrated his college acceptance. The room was heavy with ghosts. I know what you did, he said finally. The business, the bank loan, Vincent. You know Vincent. I know about him. I did some research after your lawyer showed up. Dad's old partner, the one who went to prison. I always wondered why you never talked about him. Marcus looked at me. Did you plan this from the beginning? The shell company, the recordings, all of it? No, I said honestly. I planned to sign my house over to you because I was terrified and alone, and you were my son. Vincent planned the rest. Why him? Why not just call a lawyer? Because lawyers play by rules, and you and Jessica weren't playing by rules. You were planning to rob me of everything I had and abandon me to die in some understaffed facility. I needed someone who could fight dirty. Marcus flinched. It wasn't like that. Then, what was it like, Marcus? Explain it to me. He couldn't. He sat there, silent, and I watched him realize that there was no explanation that would make what he'd done acceptable. Jessica told me you were declining, he said finally, that you'd called her by Dad's name, that you were forgetting things. She made it sound like you were in danger living alone, like we'd be negligent if we didn't step in. I never called her by your father's name. I've never forgotten anything important. She lied to you. I know that now. His voice cracked. I know a lot of things now, about her, about Craig, about what she was planning to do with the money from selling this house. What was she planning? To leave me? She was going to take half of everything in the divorce, plus the proceeds from this house, and move to California with Craig. She had it all planned out. I was just the vehicle to get your assets. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. What do you want from me, Marcus? I want you to give me back my company. His voice was steady now, businesslike. Name your price. Whatever you want, I'll pay it. Vincent already told you my price. Leave me alone, forever. No more visits, no more phone calls, no more attempts to control my life or take my assets. You walk away, and I'll sell you back your company for $1. That's it. You don't want money. I never wanted money. I wanted my son. I looked at him, but I don't have a son anymore, do I? Marcus's face crumpled. For a moment, he looked like the little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, crying for his daddy who'd never come home. Mom, please, I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you, but I'm still your son. That has to mean something. It does mean something, I said quietly. It means this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I called Vincent. The papers were ready within an hour. Marcus signed away his rights to ever contest my decisions, to ever seek power of attorney, to ever claim any stake in my assets. In return, he got his company back. Before he left, he turned at the door. Did you ever love me? Or was I always just Dad's son to you, the kid you were stuck raising? The question was so unexpected, so raw, that it took my breath away. I loved you more than my own life, I said. I still do. That's why this hurts so much. He nodded slowly. Then he walked out of my house, and I never saw him again. 3 months passed. Vincent called occasionally to check on me, but mostly I was alone, which was what I'd wanted, right? To be left alone in my house, with my memories and my independence. Except it didn't feel like winning. It felt like losing everything that mattered. I was arranging flowers on the dining room table when the doorbell rang. I almost didn't answer. I'd become suspicious of unexpected visitors, but something made me open the door. A young woman stood there, early 20s, with Marcus's eyes and my late husband's smile. Mrs. Ward, she said. My name is Sophie. I'm your granddaughter. The world tilted. Marcus never said he doesn't know about me. She clutched her purse nervously. My mom is Marcus's ex-girlfriend from college, Claire Davidson. She got pregnant during their senior year, but they broke up before she could tell him. She decided to raise me alone. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Mom passed away last month, Sophie continued, her voice shaking. Cancer. Before she died, she told me about my father. I've been trying to decide whether to contact him, but then I found articles about the lawsuit, about what happened with you. And I wanted to meet you first. I stood back. Come in, please. We sat in the kitchen, and she told me everything. About her mother, about growing up in Chicago, about the scholarship that brought her to college nearby, about how her mother had followed Marcus's life from a distance, watched him get married, build a career, but never reached out because she didn't want to disrupt his life. Why come to me? I asked. Because everything I read about you made you sound strong, like someone who fights for what's right, and I guess I need advice from someone strong right now. Advice about what? Whether to tell my father I exist, whether to blow up his life all over again when he's already been through so much. I looked at this young woman, this stranger who was also family, who carried my blood and my husband's legacy, and I realized something that made me want to cry. Marcus had made mistakes, terrible, unforgivable mistakes, but he'd made them because Jessica had manipulated him, had lied to him, had twisted his love for her into a weapon against me. And now I'd done the same thing. I'd used Vincent's schemes and my own hurt to take everything from my son. I'd destroyed his marriage and nearly destroyed his business. I'd driven him away forever. I'd become what I hated. Sophie, I said carefully, what I'm about to tell you might change your opinion of me, but you deserve the truth. I told her everything, about the house, the nursing home threats, Vincent's plan, the revenge I'd taken. I didn't soften it or make excuses. I let her see exactly what I'd done. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Do you regret it? She asked finally. Yes, I said. Not protecting myself, I'd do that again, but the rest of it, taking his company, destroying his marriage, cutting him out of my life forever. I shook my head. I was so focused on punishing him that I forgot he was still my child. I forgot that people make mistakes. I forgot about mercy. So what do? You tell him the truth. You give him something I took away, a chance, at family, at redemption. I reached across the table and took her hand. And maybe, if you're willing, you give me a chance at redemption too. I called Marcus that night. He answered on the fourth ring, his voice wary. Mom, there's someone you need to meet, I said. Can you come over tomorrow? Please, it's important. There was a long pause. Is this a trap? No, no traps. No lawyers, just family. We're not family anymore. You made that clear. Marcus, I was wrong about a lot of things. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking for 1 hour of your time, please. He came. The next afternoon, he stood on my porch looking defensive and hurt and scared. Sophie was waiting in the living room, just as terrified. What's this about? Marcus asked as I led him inside. It's about something your mother should have told you 23 years ago, I said, and something I should have told you 3 months ago, that I'm sorry, that I let my pain turn into cruelty, that I forgot what it means to be a parent. I opened the living room door. Marcus saw Sophie, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then he saw his own face reflected in hers, and he understood. This is Sophie, I said quietly. She's your daughter. What happened next is hard to describe. Marcus stood frozen for what felt like forever. Sophie started crying. I started crying. And then, slowly, Marcus crossed the room and embraced this young woman he'd never known existed. This piece of himself that had been missing all along. They talked for hours. I gave them space, made tea, listened from the kitchen as they pieced together a history that should have existed but didn't. As they built a bridge across years of absence, when Sophie finally left with plans to have dinner with Marcus the next night, my son stayed behind. Thank you, he said, for calling me, for giving me this. I didn't give you anything. She came to me, and I just did what I should have done months ago, put family ahead of pride. I'm still sorry, he said, for everything with Jessica, with the house. I was weak. I let her poison my mind against you. And I'm sorry for taking things as far as I did, for using Vincent to hurt you instead of just protecting myself. We stood in my hallway, two people who'd wounded each other terribly, trying to figure out if healing was even possible. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Why Vincent, of all people? Why turn to him? Because he was the only person I knew who could fight as dirty as Jessica. But that was wrong. I should have fought her with the truth, with the law, not with schemes and revenge. Vincent, Marcus said slowly, isn't who you think he is. I looked at him sharply. What do you mean? After you hired him, I did a deep background check. Mom, Vincent Caruso died 6 years ago in a prison hospital, pancreatic cancer. The room seemed to tilt. That's impossible. I've been talking to him for months. He helped me, did he? Or did someone pretending to be Vincent help you do exactly what they wanted you to do? My phone rang. Vincent's number, but not Vincent's, someone else. Someone who'd used my pain and my rage to manipulate me into becoming someone I wasn't. I answered. Who are you? A laugh, familiar and strange at once. Hello, Eleanor. We need to talk about what you owe me. The voice wasn't Vincent's. It was younger, smoother, dangerous. Who are you? I repeated. Someone who helped you when no one else would. And now it's time to pay the bill. The line went dead. Marcus and I stared at each other. We'd been so focused on our own battle that we hadn't seen the real threat, the person who'd orchestrated everything, who'd turned mother against son and taken something from both of us in the process. Mom, Marcus said quietly, I think we're in trouble. Yes, I agreed. I think we are. But for the first time in months, we were facing that trouble together. And as I looked at my son, really looked at him, saw the man he'd become and the father he was about to be, realized something. Whatever came next, we'd face it as family. The doorbell rang. Marcus and I exchanged glances. He moved to stand beside me, protective, the way he used to be before Jessica, before the house, before everything fell apart. I opened the door. A man stood there. Mid-30s, expensive suit, Vincent's smile. Hello, Eleanor, he said. My name is Michael Caruso. Vincent was my father, and we have a lot to discuss about the services I provided and the creative way you're going to pay me back. He pushed past me into my house, and I knew with absolute certainty that the real fight was only just beginning. But this time, I wasn't alone this time. I had my son,